Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar, IT Tools for SMBs to Stay Productive and Secure. Before I hand the presentation over to our presenters for today's session, I do have a few housekeeping details to cover. First, this webinar will be recorded and shared after today's presentation. Secondly, all participants have been placed in listen-only mode, but we'd love to hear from you during the session. So if you have a question for our presenters, please feel free to type it into the chat feature, which is located on the bottom left corner of your screen. We will be answering questions at the end of the session. However, if we don't get to your question during today's webinar, we'll be sure to follow up with a response via email afterward. So without further delay, I'd like to kick things over by welcoming our presenter, Arslan. Arslan, over to you.
Thanks very much, Arpita. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arslan. I'm the National Sales Manager for Ricoh IT Services. Been with the organization for just over 13 years now in a capacity of different roles. I've always been one passionate for solving customer problems, and I found IT as one of those fields where you really get to understand the customer needs, but not just from an IT standpoint, but also from a business standpoint. And then it allows us to help our clients by delivering the right solutions and services to address those specific problems or needs. I'll hand it off to my colleague, Scott, to introduce himself, and then we'll continue with today's presentation.
Thanks, Arslan. Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Charlton. I work as part of the marketing team here at Ricoh Canada. Bit about us. My team's mandate really is to listen to our customers, bring new innovative solutions to market that solve your IT needs, and give Arslan and the entire Canadian account team the support and tools that they need to provide our customers with value-add solutions that really want to improve the customer experience through sales. Thanks, Arslan.
Thanks, Scott. So what we're going to talk about today as part of our webinar called IT Tools for SMBs to Stay Productive and Secure, we're going to take you through a number of different topics, but really what we want to start off with is we're going to look at the current landscape of collaboration, what it looks like today, how that's actually changed over the last little while, especially due to the COVID-19 situation. Then we're going to just take a step back and understand why it's really important to have a strategy for defining your business continuity plan. Then I'll hand it off to my colleague, Scott, who's going to walk you through some of the business continuity tools that are available in the marketplace and Ricoh IT Services has expertise with. We're going to look at some of the remote access tools and solutions that are also available for you to take advantage of. And lastly, we're going to finish it off with, why is it important to have accessibility through a secure network, and what your next steps should be in regards to identifying and finding the right solution for your business in terms of a collaboration or remote workforce productivity tool. Throughout the webinar presentation, we do also have a series of questions that we're going to open up to the audience. We'll allow everyone, to have 30 or 60 seconds to provide their answers, as it will help us better understand what type of audience is attending the webinar today, and what are some of the common trends that we are hearing from our clients or prospects in regards to their current state of collaboration and remote workforce tools capabilities. So our first webinar question is, we want to understand from you guys who are on the presentation today, the next normal is employees working remotely and from physical workplaces. So tell us, how prepared is your business to handle the next normal? Do you guys have all the right capabilities and tools that you require to be able to function remotely? And we'll just take about a minute or so for everyone to answer the question. Great. So it looks like most people are in sort of that 70 to 89% range where they have most of the tools that they require in order to do what they need to do. So moving on with our presentation for today, we're going to start things off by talking about the current landscape of collaboration and how it's really changed over the last little while. In the last decade, as technology has matured, many organizations have often found themselves being asked to facilitate remote working. And this has either been for specific staff or departments, or if you're one of those lucky people, it's been for the entire organization. As time passed by, this technology model that assumed workers to a connected, fortified local network from a few discrete physical locations ultimately evolved into a model that allowed connectivity outside the walls of the organization and it allowed workers to be productive from almost anywhere. Fast track to 10 years later, the early months of 2020, most of you are probably now used to regular video meetings, communication with colleagues through instant messaging. We've all had those virtual happy hours, working on projects, leveraging collaboration technologies, and more. So it's really incredible to see just how quickly much of the global workforce has adapted to working entirely online and from home. So while this whole out-of-office arrangement may be holding up relatively well now, there's a big question as to what happens after the quarantine ends. What kind of lasting impact might this sudden shift to work from home have on the economy and productivity, and what does it really mean for the technology companies and technology providers that are now being relied upon to keep people connected? I think we all agree that technology can enable teamwork. While this whole remote workforce was nothing new for most technology leaders, COVID-19 really forced this sudden and dramatic change. Rather than remote workforce being an exception, it's now become the norm for everyone, whether you're the CEO of the organization, whether you're the analyst in the logistics department, or a technical writer in the marketing group. This sudden change really forced the most reticent leaders to acknowledge that it was possible to be productive outside the four walls of the company. And it also forced workers to quickly learn and embrace remote work technologies. So while technology is a key enabler when it comes to providing remote working capabilities to employees, it also comes with its own challenges for IT departments. Whether it's disjointed collaboration and file sharing, whether it's dispersed resources, whether it's BYOD, bring your own devices, whether it's security, which is a top concern for most IT leaders, version controlling of documents, or ultimately the integration capabilities are just some of those main issues that IT departments are facing today. As they allow their employees to leverage more and more of these tools, they also tend to present more challenges for these IT leaders. Hence why you need to really define a strategy and pick the right tools and systems that allow your IT needs to align with your business goals. And we're going to talk about why that's really important. I mentioned strategy for business continuity and why it's important, but let's take a step back and then just understand business continuity in general. I do want to take a minute just to explain the difference between the two, because I find sometimes people confuse disaster recovery with business continuity. A disaster recovery plan primarily focuses on restoring your IT infrastructure and operations on a crisis. A good example would be making sure you have proper backups of your files and data at a secondary site or on a cloud-based server in case something happens to your primary data center. For example, you might have a flood or a fire, your primary server room at your head office burns down. You want to make sure your data is backed up somewhere else. That's part of your disaster recovery plan. The business continuity plan, however, it looks at the continuity of the entire organization. For example, if your head office building housed your customer service department, and it goes through the same natural disaster, there's a fire or a flood, do you know how those customer service reps can handle customer calls? Would they work from home or from an alternative location? The business continuity plan is what addresses certain concerns like that. I think you would all agree that in business today, it's no longer about keeping up, it's about staying ahead. Technology has really become a strategic contributor to every function of a business, whether it's finance, whether it's operations, sales, marketing, HR, logistics, you name it. Technology has really transformed the way work gets done. Technology and IT now play a fundamental role as a partner in the business, working in concert with other stakeholders to achieve strategic goals and directions. The reason I mention this is because technology plays a big factor in defining your business continuity plan. And when it comes to technology, there isn't a single business continuity solution that fits all. So today, we're going to walk you through some of the solutions that are available in the marketplace. But before we get into that, here are a few things I just want to point out that you should keep in mind when it comes to finding the right business continuity solutions for your business. Always make sure you find a tool and leverage a tool that inspires your employees with a consistent and clear vision. You want to make sure they adopt the technologies and leverage it to the best of their capabilities. You want to foster creativity and innovation to allow your employees to again, use these tools to the best they can. Make sure you're making it easier for your team members to do their jobs by providing them with these tools, because ultimately it helps improve team productivity. And lastly, make sure you get stronger engagement from your team members when it comes to adopting and rolling out these particular technologies and tools. I said it before, I'll say it again. When it comes to developing your business continuity plan, start with strategy and make sure that it aligns well with your business strategy. Take time to assess and identify the business functions in your organization and the services and processes that support them. Once you've done your assessment, make sure you do proper planning. Look across the business processes to see where the dependencies exist, and make sure that you find the tools that might address more than just one need. So you eliminate having too many tools and functionalities introduced to the business. And always do a capability validation. Build validation scenarios for all the different processes. Once you do these, then you will know that you have a strategic plan that lets you begin with the end in mind. It allows you to be prepared and respond to change when needed to be. I'm just going to quickly move on to our second poll question of the presentation. We want to understand from you guys, what are your priorities to maintain business continuity in the next normal? And we'll just take about 30 to 60 seconds to go through this. Perfect. So it looks like we've got a mixed group of answers across all the different answers that were available. So with this in mind, I am going to hand this off now to my colleague, Scott Charlton, who's going to take you through some of the collaboration and remote working tools that we have talked about and how your business can potentially take advantage of these tools. Scott, over to you.
Thanks, Arsalan. Let me move on to 16. So let's take a look at some of the tools we've seen come to the forefront in customer conversations the past few months, which have really allowed Ricoh to adjust our solution roadmap accordingly as well. If you look at small business today, small businesses face a whole host of technology challenges, like keeping your technology current for one, and now dealing with a larger mobile workforce while protecting company data from external cybersecurity threats. So why Ricoh and Microsoft 365? And more importantly, what is Microsoft 365? So 365, in its essence, it's a relatively new solution that helps you securely run and grow your business by bringing together the productivity tools of Office 365 in existence today with different bundled security and device management tools Microsoft already had. So with 365, you get more done as a team, where you and your employees can be more productive, work better together with Office apps, email, cloud storage, all of this in one central space. It helps you build business where you can get apps designed to help you focus on your business by engaging and attracting customers and simplifying your processes. It safeguards your business because it comes with built-in tools that help you manage access to your data, keeps your data safe. 365 ensures your business is compliant and protected against threats, and all of these features are really simplified for you. You can easily set it up and manage your devices and data. It really gives you peace of mind and lets you focus on, the most important work required in your role and for your business. I know the most prominent conversations the Ricoh sales teams have had with their customers have been about technologies that address everything in 365 with the use cases of, remote worker enablement, security, and business continuity. And all of these use cases are addressed through the solutions contained in this new 365 bundle. And I break these out into different areas of the session today, depending on their main use case. So by safeguarding your business, 365 helps you protect your company against external threats, protects your sensitive business information from leaking outside your company. It does this by taking really a layered approach to security first. You're protected from sophisticated threats in email attachments and so on and so forth. It helps you prevent sensitive information like social insurance numbers and customer credit card numbers from being shared outside your business. You get control to manage access to your information with 365. You can control who has access to company info by applying restrictions like do not forwarding or by encrypting your emails prior to sending. And also, one of the greatest features is remotely wiping business data on lost or stolen devices without affecting the personal information contained on them. So from a remote access tools perspective, I'll move into a deep dive of the features of 365 and specifically Teams to give you an idea of all the security, collaboration, and productivity features that you can use to maintain and in most cases enhance your access. But not only that, your mobility and your security as well. So before I go into the different tools and solutions for remote workers and access, I just wanted to touch quickly on the new world of work that we currently find ourselves under and the need for these new solutions or enhancements to existing solutions. Given, the obvious recent events, we've seen a major shift in the way corporations and people are having to adjust to new work environments. I know here at Ricoh, our focus has shifted to providing our customers with the tools and support they need to enable their employees to work remotely and more importantly, from any device at any time. On-prem resources are shifting rapidly into the cloud. Meetings have become video conferences overnight. Employees really need to adjust to new platforms and tools to get their work done in this new world of work. So how does Ricoh help our customers with business continuity and Teams? Teams helps customers, really enable a new way of working. It helps people to be more collaborative, work in the open with everybody in the know, democratizing information and decision-making. It helps them to accelerate decision-making. Information is shared in the moment and in line with context, enabling everyone to quickly make an informed decision, whether you're involved in a product or a channel that's specific to your department or role and responsibilities. It also is a driver of digital transformation by helping businesses modernize business processes and align them with how people work in this new world of work that we find ourselves in. So it's a bit of a busy slide, but in general, what's unique about Teams? How do you manage your workday today? Today in your roles, you probably have a lot of information coming at you, whether you're chatting with a coworker, calling on the phone, maybe you're collaborating with others or connecting with your group using specific business applications. All of this can be scattered across different windows and platforms or geographies. So today you're really jumping from one activity to another activity to get, to ultimately what you need to accomplish and be productive. So just a little bit about our Ricoh partnership before I move specifically into Teams. Ricoh IT Services is a gold certified Microsoft partner. We hold a lot of experience in the installation and management of Microsoft Teams and Microsoft solutions in general, Azure by example, Office 365 migrations, implementations, and management. And all of this as part of a business continuity strategy and remote enablement solution mindset that we have. So let me get into more detail on the features of Teams. It plays a big part really in the in this again new world of work we find ourselves in. So let me click. So what's unique about Teams? Why does Ricoh prefer Teams? Teams really is a one-stop shop, making it very simple for you to create a comprehensive space for you and your team to work on common files, tasks, projects, anything that you need to do from a collaboration perspective. So if you're coming from a Skype environment, by example, the idea of managing your contacts, chatting and calling, hosting and attending meetings all from the same platform, it's quite normal and won't be a big change other than the look and feel of the tool. But Teams takes it just a little bit further. Teams actually allows you to not only share content, but to store it in OneDrive, access it, collaborate and co-author on it with others in real time. It allows you to create opportunities and really a unique way to manage projects, processes, people, work groups, all in one central space. The neat thing about Teams as well is you can also integrate third-party business apps. So you can integrate all the Microsoft 365 applications that you're currently used to and are available to you. They now reside in the same bundle. But in addition to that, maybe you'd like to use third-party apps that were not made by Microsoft, not developed by Microsoft, and are part of your day-to-day function or role. Maybe you're in HR and you use Kronos or ADP to help you with HR benefits and functions within your org. Or maybe you're in a help desk environment and you're working with a ticketing software like Zendesk or Freshdesk or ServiceNow. Or another option when you're adding apps is if you would like to add a survey to your project, by example, you can scroll down into the apps store and you can add SurveyMonkey or use Microsoft Forms to input a survey into your channel or chat or meeting. You can even add Power BI from a finance perspective to have detailed reporting within a channel or a project as well. All of these third-party applications are available right in Teams alongside the Microsoft applications as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't really separate and focus in on mobility for a couple of minutes. I know I mentioned the mobile, I've mentioned mobility a few times, but the mobile app really does, it's really worth highlighting and providing more detail on it. The mobile app allows users, really to carry their work with them wherever they go. Its supported platforms are iOS 10.0 or later on all of the, iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch, and also on Android OS 4.4 or later as well. The mobile app has all the features and resources as the desktop version. You can develop effective comms by getting the entire team on the same page with online meetings, audio video calling, group chat, web conferencing. You can stay on top of your business by customizing your digital workspace with Microsoft apps and third-party services. Obviously, you can make reliable and clear audio or video calls by integrating Teams with your phone system, direct routing or calling plan. You can seamlessly collaborate or manage your team's projects using Office 365 tools, some of the old usual suspects such as Word, PowerPoint, Excel, SharePoint. You can build dedicated channels to communicate with your entire team on a single shared workspace or chat privately as well. You can separate those private chats or create groups for chats. And last but not least, you can keep your team secure with end-to-end admin control, security and compliance, all that's buried within Office 365 inherently. So let's move on to poll question number 3. What are your top IT security concerns related to maintaining employee accessibility to tools and systems while they work from different locations? And we'll give you a few seconds to answer that one. Wow, this one's really interesting. It's a tight race. Everything's really close to each other. Looks like phishing, ransomware, and email took the lead and crossed the finish line first, which is interesting and in line with what Rico's been seeing in our conversations with our customers as well. One of the biggest issues of late, even prior to the pandemic, was phishing, ransomware, and email. And I speak to that in a couple of slides lower down in the presentation as well. Thanks for that, everyone. So let's take a look at accessibility, and more importantly, from a geo-dispersed workforce today, the access to information they require, it definitely adds a layer of complexity and vulnerability. So let's take a look at security specifically and move forward, focusing on the SMB security side of the business. Most of the headlines talking about cyber attacks today lately are about big, well-known businesses. You always hear about the big guys. You probably understand as an SMB that there's a chance that smaller businesses could be targeted, but you may not have the time or expertise to really evaluate what that risk is. And, hackers really focus in on that and hone in on that. The threat's real, and discounting the threat can lead to inadequate security protection. Hackers continuously monitor the entire market for areas of vulnerabilities. They often target smaller companies precisely because they know those businesses have underinvested in cybersecurity. If this kind of cybersecurity attack once seemed implausible or even far-fetched, that time is long over. Attacks such as ransomware, in which hackers, hold your data ransom, are growing increasingly common. And these breaches don't just happen to large companies. I know here in Canada, even locally here around where I'm located in Toronto, we've seen several small businesses and small municipal government offices and parts of that business have their systems hijacked and frozen. And, within 3 or 4 hours, the perpetrators got away with $30,000 or more in Bitcoin payments. It's embarrassing, and, hackers are smart. They ask for small amounts so they get in and out quick, and it's easy to pay. So, if you're hit, the effects of a breach can be catastrophic. Not only can your business's reputation be compromised, undermining customer and supplier trust, but it can lead to complaints being filed with our privacy commissioner, even lawsuits, or even more seriously, however, a business may be forced to close while dealing with the breach and incur an array of, a lot of, legal-related expenses that can end up being significant and sometimes, in a few cases, financially fatal to the business. So, years ago, having a firewall, PC antivirus, email filtering, those were sufficient to protect your business. But many things have changed since those, what I'll call, simpler days. Data's in the cloud now rather than all being on-prem. There's hybrid environments with a mix of both. It's good news for users when it's on-prem, who may have easier options for getting things done wherever they go. But it also means you have more points of risk to think about that when it's outside of your network. They're using more mobile devices that they can lose or leave unsecured. Workers are, working from home, from coffee shops, airports, the back of an Uber. And cyber criminals are going after users in increasingly new and sophisticated ways. Phishing attacks that are getting harder and harder to recognize, ransomware that twists the power of encryption to work against you, taking critical files hostage, social engineering attacks that take advantage of people being busy. Cyber criminals have really upped their game. And, we need to as well as SMBs. but you don't have time to become a cybersecurity expert, and you certainly don't have time to stay a cybersecurity expert because of how threats change month to month. We want to allow you, and you need to focus on your core roles and responsibilities of building and growing your business. We do, Rico, we always suggest as part of a continuity plan, use our cybersecurity awareness training offer to extend security beyond IT and onto the individuals. It'll train end users on what phishing or ransomware threats look like, what suspicious URLs look like in email or phishing subject lines. And then it will test your environment as well without telling anybody. So you'll get an email a couple weeks after you do the training, and you'll physically be tested on how you handle that cybersecurity threat in a obviously a closed, monitored, and managed environment. But yeah, cybersecurity awareness training, I think, is one of those areas that a lot of companies could really benefit from, just running their employees through that training. It's a real eye-opener and, protects the business, on a whole new level post-training. So let's take I want to take a layered, a look at security from a layered approach. Microsoft in 365 really does take a layered approach to security first. You're protected from sophisticated threats hidden in email attachments and links. You get defenses against security threats, ransomware, other advanced malware attempts. You get protection from data leaks, helping you prevent sensitive information like social insurance numbers, customer credit card numbers from being shared outside your business. You really get to control and manage access to information across all facets of your business and devices. You can control who has access to company info by applying restrictions like do not forward or by encrypting the data. You can easily and remotely wipe business data on lost or stolen devices without affecting the personal information that's stored on those devices. So most businesses really deal with a variety of sensitive information, regardless of the vertical that you operate within. Keeping this information safe can be a daunting task for any business, large or small, but especially for SMBs. 365 really helps you protect your business data or sensitive customer or employee info from accidental leaks by using its data loss prevention capabilities. These DLP policies can help you identify, monitor, and protect sensitive info with deep content analysis, even if your staff forget to apply these controls. It includes pre-configured templates that can help businesses detect specific types of sensitive info and stop it from getting communicated. It also provides policy tips, which can help educate and prevent end users from accidentally sharing any sensitive information by displaying a policy tip in Outlook. Your employees can easily encrypt email and documents or impose controls such as do not print and do not forward. This helps you communicate securely with customers or other people outside your company, ensuring that only the intended recipient can read and act on the message that they've been sent. With the information protection features in 365, you can maintain control of who can access your docs, even after a document has been shared or saved outside your company's network. It also helps to ensure that your data and documents are retained and archived in case they're needed to meet legal or regulatory requirements under any sort of request that you get or mandate you need to meet. The threat of information loss is really what keeps a lot of businesses' employees up at night. But with your files securely backed up in the cloud or in a hybrid model and accessible only by you or your employees, even in the event of a loss or damage device, you don't need to worry, stay awake worrying about the security of your data. You can put that one to rest. I want to talk a bit about how 365 helps you manage the security across the different devices that everyone uses today, phones, tablets, PCs, Macs, whether they're Windows iOS, Mac OS, Android. We can really implement a solution that helps you manage all of them across all of those different OSs and hardware. Conditional access capabilities really give you flexibility and fine-grained control over which devices and users can access your data. It allows everyone to use their device of choice. You can require a strong PIN, if you like, or fingerprint to access company data. There's a bunch of different parameters that you can set to keep them secure. You can enforce device encryption, block jailbroken or rooted devices. It lets you keep your business documents, emails, files, and other data within approved Office mobile apps on your personal devices, and prevents employees from saving these also to another unauthorized apps or locations. And because company data is kept within those approved apps and locations, you can remotely wipe it pretty quickly from a personal device when an employee leaves your company or that device has been lost or stolen. You can enforce device encryption on Windows PCs with BitLocker as an extension as well, if you want that to help protect against data theft or exposure if a computer is lost or stolen. So let me speak to what in my opinion, I think the most important pillar to business continuity is, and I know Arsalan talked about the difference between a business continuity strategy, what business continuity is, and backup and discovery, or I should say backup and disaster recovery, as its separate entity. Backup and discovery is a part of, and like I said, the most important part for me personally in a business continuity plan or strategy. So, Ricoh partnered with Veeam to provide replication services that deliver disaster recovery for all data and applications a while ago. We really focus on, and the solution that we've bundled together really focuses on three main things. Data availability, number one. Using multiple legacy backup solutions creates, more operational costs, and also needs specific expertise to manage. So we've, wrapped this bundle into a single intuitive approach. Organizations can achieve fast, flexible, reliable protection of all applications and data, whether it be on-prem or in the cloud. Another consideration addresses data agility. As organizations struggle to manage data growth and adapt technologies, data management is increasingly critical for driving efficiency and delivering innovation. To meet today's demands and prepare for the future, IT organizations really need management simplicity across all of their workloads, automation of routine daily tasks, and more importantly, easy scalability across the current infrastructure. And finally, business acceleration. So developing and deploying, using new applications, sometimes that can be difficult for many organizations. Modern applications need one agile platform where developers have access to their data incredibly fast. So let's look at specifically Office backup and recovery for Microsoft 365. A lot of companies, this is really important, a lot of companies assume that their email is being backed up and is kept safe in case of events and failures that require, recovery and access to those backups. And, and making sure your email is backed up eliminates the risk of losing access and control over your data. Data getting backed up includes, or in 365, it includes Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, and Microsoft Teams. All of those bundled products within it now have one central space for managing and securing all of those solutions and features. If you've ever read the Microsoft user agreements, and I have, they're fairly long, but in general, Microsoft provides, they provide a wide array of services within Office 365, but a comprehensive backup of your Office 365 data is not one of them. Microsoft is responsible for maintaining the platform and keeping it accessible, but that's, as far as it goes, keeping that up and running for you. Some of the concerns businesses should have and address when considering data integrity and recovery are geo-redundancy. Geo-redundancy is really not a backup. Office 365 does have geo-redundancy from a data center perspective, but it only stores the same data in different locations, and it's not a preventative measure. If the source original data is accidentally moved, corrupted, or deleted, you risk having the same proliferated at all sites within the ability and eliminates the ability to recover. You could lose that data. Just because your email data is in the cloud does not mean a backup is not required. With our Office 365 solution, you can retrieve all of that data for business and even Microsoft Teams as well from a cloud-based instance of O365 and back up the data as often as every 5 minutes if you want. Backup Exchange, SharePoint on-prem, this reduces the impact to your data center, allows you to set the frequency and timing of your backups. It protects data posted and shared within Teams, chats, files, and channels and sites. As Teams data is journaled into Exchange Online and SharePoint Online automatically in the background. So, like I said, we chose to partner with Veeam to provide an Office 365 backup and recovery solution for all size businesses that can work with, whether it be on-prem or back it up to the cloud. It really enables you, and I can't stress this enough, to operate seamlessly, and your employees to work from anywhere, anytime without the need to host your own email, files, and content management infrastructure, which is the biggest piece. So before we move on into the next topic, let me just leave you with this, which I think is important to highlight, which is a kind of a high-level way that Ricoh IT looks at why we should, or why SMBs, or anyone for that matter, should back up Office 365. It's important to remember, again, that SaaS platform providers, they only take on the responsibility of application uptime and the underlying infrastructure. But it's the customer's responsibility to manage and protect their data, because you own that data at the end of the day. So we've identified 6 reasons why backing up Office 365 is critical to our business continuity strategy and roadmaps. If you look at accidental deletion, I know I mentioned on the front, in a geo-redundant landscape, the main data is really what matters. If there's an error in the main data, it's just proliferated through the entire site. So with, if you delete a user, whether you meant to or not, that deletion is replicated across the network. A backup can restore that user instantly, either to an on-prem Exchange or Office 365. There are retention policy gaps and confusion that they saw. Office 365 retention policies are hard to keep up with, let alone manage. So if you're backing that, those policies up, a backup provides longer, more accessible retention of all that protected and stored data in one easy place for recovery. Internal security threats. Many businesses are experiencing threats from the inside as well, and they are happening more often than you'd think. Having a recovery solution mitigates the risk of critical data being lost or destroyed. And then there's the external security threat. Malware, viruses, they've, a lot of them have done serious damage to organizations globally in just the past year alone. A backup can easily restore mailboxes to an instance before the attack. There's, ongoing, more complicated and confusing legal and compliance requirements that everyone has to deal with every day. So you want to ensure you can retrieve mailbox data during legal action or to meet any new regulatory compliances that apply to your industries and verticals in business. HIPAA in the healthcare industry, 401, Sarbanes-Oxley, or FINRA in the finance markets. You want to, managing hybrid email deployments and migrations to Office 365 is a big, tough job that you want to be able to do, without error. So whether you are migrating to O365 or have a blend of on-prem Exchange and Office 365 users, the Exchange data should be managed and protected the same way, making the source location really a moot point and irrelevant. So I'll hand it back over to Arslan to speak to the next steps and close this one out from a product perspective. But I look forward to any questions you may have. So thanks a lot for participating in this part of the session.
Thanks, Scott. So in case, again, you're wondering what your next step should be, as we talked about earlier, let's start off with assessing your current business needs and your current business continuity strategy. Once we do that, then we can help you build, find, identify, and manage, and ultimately adopt the right solutions that you need to put in place. If you don't have the internal resources to do this for you, Ricoh has a number of different groups through our business consulting group or virtual CIO services that can help you with all these steps in order to help you identify your specific business needs and then making sure that we recommend the right solutions and services that will meet those business requirements and ultimately making sure your IT needs and your IT goals are aligned with your business needs. In case you're not familiar with us, Ricoh Canada as an organization, we're part of the larger global network of Ricoh companies. In Canada, we're close to roughly 2,300 employees, and about half of that group actually resides on the professional services and technical services side of the business, helping our clients with their day-to-day needs. IT services just happens to be one of our lines of business on the services side. As some of you might be aware, Ricoh is more than just the traditional managed print business or the IT services that we talked about today. We do have a number of other groups and services that can help you with your day-to-day needs, whether it's business consulting, understanding your business processes and how you can optimize some of those processes, whether it's communication services, or anything around content management, document management, or workflow, or information governance. Those are all different areas that Ricoh has the right expertise and tools to help you with. If you've been following this webinar as part of the series of webinars that we have been presenting over the last few weeks, we do have one more, which is our last one coming up on June 11th around remote collaboration. If that's something that interests you, make sure you do register for that upcoming webinar as well. And I do want to leave you off and finish off the presentation with one of my favorite quotes from Joe Arthur Barker, who was an American futurist. Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world. With that in mind, I'm going to finish off the presentation, and I'll open it up to any questions you guys might have.
Thank you so much, Arslan and Scott. We are now opening up the Q&A session, so please feel free to type your questions into the chat box on the bottom left corner of your screen if you've not already done so during the session. So I do see that a few questions have come in during the presentation, so I'm going to start asking those here. This one looks to be for you, Arslan. The first question is, what type of investment are we looking at if we wanted to implement Microsoft 365?
Great question. Can't really put a number on it, because there's obviously some further discovery required in regards to your specific business needs, size of the organization, etc. But what I can say is one of the biggest benefits of leveraging a tool like Microsoft 365 is that it's a subscription-based service. So you're really paying for what you use. You're paying for licenses for the users that you have. And at any time, if you downsize or the size of your organization grows, you can always adjust your, your usage and the licensing costs. So there is some small upfront investments required to get you set up with the tool if you're already not using it. But once you are set up, then the ongoing costs are actually subscription-based, so are very minimal.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Arslan. Another question related to 365 is, and I think this is for you, Arslan, as well, is I'm afraid to have our data in the cloud. So how secure do you think Microsoft 365 is?
Great question, and this is something we constantly hear over and over, that there's a perception that if your information is in the cloud, it's not secure. I always like to sort of answer this question by painting a picture. Think about the cloud as a gated community. When you do live in a gated community, there's a lot of security that goes around the perimeter, making sure the entire environment is protected, there's a lot of investments that are typically made to make sure a gated community is very secure. The cloud is very similar. Some of these larger organizations, whether it's Microsoft, Amazon, Google, or whoever else, they put a lot of investments in making sure the entire cloud parameter is secure. In addition to that, think about living in a gated community. You can add locks, security systems, cameras, whatever else you like to your own individual unit. You can do the same thing with your infrastructure in the cloud. So in addition to everything that the cloud provider provides to you to secure the parameter, and these guys are investing billions of dollars to make sure they are protecting the environment, you do still have the capability to add additional layers of security to have more protection around your specific infrastructure and environment as well. So it is very secure.
All right, great. Thank you. And Scott, this question's for you. The question is, how is Microsoft 365 different than Office 365 based on some comments you made during the presentation?
Yeah, so I'll put my marketing hat on and shoot myself in the foot for a minute. A lot of times I think marketing is done and makes things a little more complex than it needs to be, and I think Microsoft has done that here. So it's fairly simple. Office 365 is now a part of Microsoft 365 as a all-up bundle. So Microsoft 365 contains Microsoft Teams now, which used to be an outlying product outside of 365. It includes OneDrive. It includes Office 365 as well. So it's Microsoft 365 is just a bundle, and one of the solutions in that bundle is now Office 365. I can also answer. Do you want me to answer Christy Martin's question here?
Yes. So I was just coming to that, Scott. Okay. So another question related to this question is that in the Teams feature for 365, is there a way to share the calendar?
Yeah. So one of the cool things about Microsoft 365, even Teams and Outlook, is that throughout all of those solutions and even in the bundle, calendaring is integrated into everything. So just like on Office 365 today, where you can go in and look at shared calendars, you can go in and look at individuals' availability when you're booking a meeting with a bunch of people. It actually goes a bit further with Teams. So in Teams, within inline chat, you can add a meeting right inside the chat window. There's a calendar item. And what it will do is it'll open up a new meeting window, and in that window, it already populates on a side window off to the right the availability of the person that you're chatting with. Further to that, if you're in a channel, what Microsoft calls a channel within Teams, so think about your email inbox. You can create other folders. Well, a channel is a new project or a team or a folder within Teams. If you're in a channel and you're all collaborating and working on a project, you can click on the calendar icon within that specific channel, and it will bring up and invite everybody that's contained within that channel, but nobody externally. It also brings up all of their availability as well. It doesn't bring up the times that they're busy. It just brings up a window that will say, everybody in this channel is free Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And you just click that, and your meeting is set. That meeting is embedded in that channel. It's archived and backed up in that channel, and it's managed through that channel as well, right within Teams. So, yeah, I didn't mention it during the presentation, but Teams itself it's pretty expansive. It's a 2-hour session alone just on all of the features and functionalities of Teams. But
all right.
We go, yeah.
That sounds really interesting, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing that information. In fact, I didn't know about that particular feature in Teams. Thank you, everyone, for attending. That's all the time we have for questions. Please do look out for the email with the recording for this webinar session, which we will send out tomorrow. Do take a couple of minutes to complete the survey that will pop up once we end this session. Your feedback is very important to us to continuously address any challenges you're facing in business today. So stay safe and have a good day ahead. Thank you so much for joining.